Wagger, I would imagine. Wager.
We had a feature with him yesterday, I believe.
Okay. Well, he is playing High Tide.
Yep.
Big meanie face. I'm actually cool. James, listen. We're going to have a little chat here. You need to keep it under 5 minutes. Go each time you go off. Keep it under 5 minutes. I'm timing you.
And then we have Nicholas Rausch, Star City Games Open, Legacy Open Cincinnati last year champion, I believe, with the same deck he's playing right now, Manaless Dredge.
So we have the land count in our decks has skyrocketed from 0 to 4.
We have Dryad Arbor.
Dryad Arbor is the land in Nicholas's deck. I wonder if Nick won the roll. Because he would choose to draw. Both outcomes of the winner of the die roll.
Yeah. Nick chooses to draw because his deck has no discard outlet other than draw, discard.
The discard step, yeah. And he cannot mulligan, so he has to play every thing. Like he has to play Shambling Shell.
This looks like a much more aggressive list than we're used to seeing. He has 3 Gristlebrands and 2 Flayer of the Hatebounds. No Gigapedes.
Okay.
Nick starts off with discarding a Phantasmagorian.
Yep. We could, I'm sure you guys all know what Phantasmagorian does. So Phantasmagorian is basically the best way to kickstart the engine. You can, if Phantasmagorian is in your graveyard, you can discard 3 cards to return the Phantasmagorian to your hand. So it basically lets you discard 3 cards.
Yeah.
So during that step, Nick is going to discard 3 cards, including Cabal Therapy, Golgari Grave Troll.
No, that might be another Phantasmagorian.
And another Phantasm. Okay.
Yeah, you can also activate Phantasmagorian in response to its own ability, so you can discard up to 6 cards.
Yeah.
Or 9 if you have that for some reason.
Right, because the return Phantasmagorian, the second ability.
Yes.
So that's what you're interested in.
Activating it twice. There's the Cabal Therapy. There's the Black Force of Will Contagion. So same.
Black Force of Will is a strong statement.
Yeah. So it's mana cost is 3 black. Alternate cost of exile a black card, pay a life, and it puts 2 -2/-1 counters on creatures divided as you choose. So that is a way that Nick can kill a Deathrite Shaman game 1. So it looks like he gets to dredge his Street Wraith. Oh, he has Street Wraith to dredge his Graveful. There we go. That's what.
So this is still doing the end step, and
yes.
That is a Nether Shadow.
These are beta Nether Shadows, for the record. I believe he played.
That's impressive.
Listen, if you're gonna play with this deck, you gotta commit.
Yeah, at least the mana. I own 4th edition Nether Shadows because they're a little bit more realistic.
Okay, so we're now probably gonna move to Upkeep.
Upkeep. So one cool thing is when you're dredging 6 cards, you can rearrange those cards as they go to the graveyard, as long as they all go to the graveyard.
Those specific 6 cards.
Yes, those 6 cards only.
So these Nether Shadows get to come back because there are multiple creatures that were dredged alongside of them that ended up above them in the graveyard.
Yes.
This is a pretty good draw from Nick. He still has not dredged for his turn.
Yeah.
Dredges.
It's actually like it probably is. See, what's with that? He's got a.
Oh no! Oh, they don't even match.
The 4th they did right. If you're gonna
maybe he left one at home.
Well, no excuse. If you're gonna get 1 beta, you gotta get 4 beta.
Yeah. Let's see. Nicholas Rausch.
Does he have a Dread Return?
I don't know, but he has a Cabal Therapy, which may be enough. Let's see. He has 2 Cabal Therapies, it looks like. Okay. No Bridge from Belows, but that hardly matters when your features come back all the time.
Right. I mean, it would be nice to get additional zombies.
Yes.
Plus, but it's not important for the combo. The other thing
is if Nick, does he know what his opponent's playing? Can you just get him?
Can you get him off of Fetchland Preordain and 2 basic islands?
I think this exact copy of the High Tide deck may be the one that Chris Anderson was debating playing this morning.
Yeah.
It looks like the same islands, and it looks like the same red sleeve.
Same red mana sleeves.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Nicholas has that information.
Yeah, I'm just noting.
All right, looks like we'll flashback a Cabal Therapy. We're going to second a Nether Shadow?
We're going to flashback both Cabal Therapies, and we want the Ichorid on top of the Nether Shadow.
Okay.
Brainstorm in response.
All right, so foil Brainstorm.
Let the games begin.
Yes.
This is always the best part. When you therapy them and they brainstorm in response, and you have to see how to level them.
Yeah, this is where I'm very, very bad. I almost always need a second Cabal Therapy to hit.
That's why I play Gitaxian Probe, obviously.
Well, you play Gitaxian Probe.
Though Nicholas is opting not to play that card. I'm assuming because it's a
spell.
Well, yeah, because it's not a creature. Ooh, that's.
It's also if you cast it and it gets forced.
Yeah.
Then you cannot discard.
Sure, and
so
you're forced to dredge and dredge it. I like how Gristlebrand is a black creature that you can exile to Ichorid.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you just ever end up with a Gristlebrand in play, you just dredge your deck, right?
Yes.
Okay.
More or less.
Cabal Therapy whiffs.
Alright, name's Cunning Wish.
Oh, yep, whiffs. Name's Cunning Wish. Okay.
So there's a Merchant Scroll, a Flusterstorm, and Intuition. Candelabra of Tawnos is the artifact, Ponder, and Turnabout.
Oh, the other Nether Shadow is getting sacked here. Interesting.
Yeah.
So the Ichorid's just going to die.
Correct. And the Nether Shadows won't come back for at least a little bit.
Does he have 3 cards in hand, maybe?
He might. He has at least the Golgari Grave Troll and the Stink with him.
Okay.
He's going to go after the Merchant Scroll,
which can find a Cunning Wish, which can find, presumably, a Ravenous Trap. But it looks like
there's a Ravenous Trap.
There is one? Okay.
And 2 Surgical Extractions.
Okay. That could be relevant for the future.
Mm-hmm. And so this will, the Ichorid will die at end of turn, so I'm not sure why there's another Shadow in the graveyard instead of in play, but...
I think he has 3 cards in hand to discard the Phantasmagorian. I don't think it matters.
Okay. Yep.
Maybe in theory there's like... Oh, I know why. Because the High Tide list sometimes plays Snap. I believe the list, Feline Longmore's list that won the Seattle Open had a main deck Snap.
Okay.
So if you don't have creatures in play, they can't Snap to go off.
Yeah.
Okay, figured it out. It's a pretty good play.
So it might also just be like oops, I'm gonna get these back anyway, so like whatever.
Sure.
Not important. Maybe did not.
In theory, it saves it from a Ravenous Trap if he hit a Cunning Witch on top.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess he didn't have a land so he'd have to have land. Yeah, that wouldn't work out. So it looks like we're pondering twice. See a Force of Will, a Cunning Wish, and a land. It's a pretty good ponder right here.
Yeah, if you,
especially
I would
with
keep
it.
Storm. I would keep it almost exactly as is. Maybe switch the land. You want to keep the Cunning Wish on top of your deck, so that you do not expose it to a potential Cabal Therapy.
Agree.
Before you have the mana to play it and can go off.
I think you want to draw the Force of Will here, so you can counter a Cabal Therapy and a Dread Return if he hits both.
Wow.
Opting to shuffle. It's possible that he doesn't have enough action, and that if he takes the Cunning Wish to wish for a Graveyard Hate spell, he just dies to 1/1 beatdown. Because now the shadows are coming back.
Okay.
He does go to 7 next turn. Oh, less. He goes to 6, facing down 3 power in play. Mediocre beats away.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are 3 Nether Shadows in that graveyard.
Adam Tucker, come on up to the side events banner. Your draft is ready.
Yeah, I think that we've passed the point where Cunning Wish is good. And there's the High Tide that he needs.
Your draft is ready to begin.
There's a Candlestick.
Might have, if he does he have? Yeah, he still has a Flusterstorm. He might have brainstormed it back, but I don't think
no,
he
it's
did.
still in his hand.
Yeah,
it was in his hand when he had the second Cabal Therapy result.
Mm-hmm. So Phantasmagorian activated. 3 creatures discard, I believe.
Yeah, another Phantasmagorian, a Grave Troll.
Yeah. And then, so all the creatures come back.
Grave Troll, Dredges, Street Wraith, Dredge card, Narcomoeba, Icarid, Bridge from Below, and nothing actually relevant.
Right.
James
Relevant
is gonna go
cards. Relevant cards would include
Dread Return and
Dread Return. Yeah, Dread Return, Cabal Therapy. Yeah, he's gonna make a couple extra creatures, but his clock is going to remain the same.
Yeah, it's actually interesting looking at this list to see how he's adapted to Deathrite Shaman. He has the Contagions and the Sickening Shoal, all of ways to kill a main deck Deathrite Shaman, which would normally be a huge issue.
Yeah, he can't otherwise beat one.
Mm-hmm. The 4 Dryad Arbors is interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just interesting. I'm sure he has very good reasons for them being in his deck.
So what can James do this turn? He can
sideboard
High Tide.
Okay.
He can
High Tide, Turnabout, Candelabra, Intuition, Time Spiral.
Oh, he has Intuition, correct. So
We're gonna. Okay, 39 minutes on the clock. Let's go.
All right, 39. Come on, James. This ain't gonna cut it. How long do you think, it's an over-under for amount of time that'll take James to go off?
7?
7?
Or 7.5.
7.5, all right. So far, I'll take the over.
Okay.
So.
Oh, we have to count for shuffling? Oh no, I set that way too low.
Yeah.
High Tide.
All right, so for those of you unfamiliar with the
Tide 1.
Yeah, the High Tide deck. Basically, what it does, High Tide is a 1-mana blue instant that makes all your islands tap for an additional blue.
6.
So he's going to, at 6, he's going to use this in combination with things that untap all of his lands, like Turnabout.
Storm count is
as a card
2,
on the stack.
2 blue floating.
And then Candelabra Taunos, the card in play.
10 floating. 7 floating. Storm count is 3.
All right. So what does he do with all this mana? He casts cards like Time Spiral, which will draw him a new 7 cards and make even more mana. And Blue Sun Zenith, and a variety of cantrips and tutors to help him find these cards.
You sure that's the one you want to put in his hand? You could put the other one.
You could.
Intuition, because blue gets Demonic Tutor for 1 more mana.
Yeah.
At instant speed.
Sure.
Okay.
One of these Time Spirals needs to get exiled.
I think he's conceding.
Oh, okay.
No? Not conceding?
Nope.
Okay.
Not appear so. That would be very lucky for your over-under.
Yeah, that'd be very lucky. So it looks like he's casting the Time Spiral with 1 floating before using the Candelabra, so that if he draws a Tide off the Time Spiral...
He just has 1 mana floating?
Yeah. He can cast it and get full use out of the Candelabra untap.
Well,
he's untapping off the Spiral, though.
Yes.
Storm count is 4, by the way. High Tide, Turnabout, Intuition, Time Spiral. Okay.
And the worst part about draw 7s, you can't mulligan.
No. This does not look like a good hand.
Preordain, Force.
Preordain? James has played a land this turn, correct?
Yes. This is turn 4.
Preordain, 5 Storm, 0 floating.
Alright, so Force of Will, that's going to go on the bottom. I'm not sure what the other card is.
Not a good one.
But it went to the bottom as well.
Draw a card. A Candlestick. Looks like he has a Merchant Scroll, so this probably means it's game.
Okay.
Though it could be possible that he doesn't have enough mana to Blue Suns for a relevant amount before killing.
He might have to use both of
blue floating.
Round 2 pairings are
Preordain, 6 Storm, 1 floating.
2-headed giant players. Your round 2.
Yeah, all these foil cards with alternate art are
throwing you off.
Yeah.
That looks like a Blue Sun Zenith and...
Well, that's a good one. Yeah, that is in fact a Blue Sun Zenith.
That he just...
Oh,
no, he
just
shipped
a
the
Ponder.
He shipped the Blue Sun Zenith. Interesting.
Wow.
I think you could have... if we saw the card in his hand correctly, a scroll. He could scroll for Tide, Candelabra, Blue Sun, kill you.
Yeah.
Like Blue Sun draw most of my deck.
Right.
So
basically, your goal is to cast a Blue Sun Zenith on yourself for 15 to 20.
Okay, so Ponder draws a Ponder. 7 Storm? Okay, Merchant Scroll 7. Correct?
Yeah,
no, Merchant Scroll's 8.
This will be our official Stormkeeper.
Yeah, because he played 4 spells before the first Tide he cast.
Correct.
Tide, Turnabout, Intuition, Spiral. Looks like Merchant Scroll is going to find a Tide. I believe he has
another card.
0
Meditate.
floating. Yep.
So if he has 0 floating, he probably needs to untap his lands with Candelabra.
Yeah.
Taunos. So basically, right now, since Tide islands are with 2 mana, only 1 High Tide has been cast.
Yes.
So Candelabra is pay X mana to untap X lands.
0 floating.
So he's paying 4 mana to untap 4 lands, but those 4 lands make 8 mana.
1 floating, meditate, 9 spells cast. It's very important that if you're gonna natural kill them with there's a spiral. Not enough mana to cast it though. If
he has another
Candelabra?
Turnabout and another Candelabra.
Okay. So if you're gonna Brain Freeze kill the Dredge player, it's important that you get all of their cards. You can't just like short freeze them a little bit short because you will die.
Yes. You have to get actual 100% of them.
Yes. Turnabout, 10 spells.
Turnabout the original Cryptic Command.
Loose definition of Cryptic Command there.
Yeah.
11 spells.
Sure,
keep another Turnabout, sure. Draw a Turnabout. He has a Cunning Wish, so it should be pretty much straightforward from here to Brain Freeze Nick's entire library.
Okay.
4, Turnabout, 12, floating 4.
One thing, James, if James needed some extra mana, he could Turnabout untap his artifacts. Because once you have 2 Candelabras, the math works out so that you make way more mana with Candelabras as opposed
13 spells, 3 floating. Here, so it costs you 12 to untap twice, which generates 16. It's actually the same with 2 Candelabras, 1 Tide, and 4 lands. Assuming I just did that math really quickly correctly.
What is this pile being set aside? I see.
What?
Yeah. Oh, he's got a sideboard in his hand right now, and his actual current hand is face down on the table.
So we're at 13 spells, 3 mana floating. I'm sure we can assemble a win. We could even just force our Cunning Wish and then force the Force.
Yeah.
Nick has 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 cards out of his deck, it looks like.
Yeah, there's a couple exiled. 7
in hand, 4 in play, 3 in exile, it looks like. Maybe a 4th in. If it's a 4th in exile, this Storm count's already lethal. I'm assuming Nick's deck is 60. Yes. Yep, bringing up Brain Freeze there. So it's 3 cards for each Storm copy.
Yeah.
So if that is the 15th spell played, which currently I believe there are 13 spells cast this turn. And Cunning Wish is the 14th, Brain Freeze the 15th, and I believe Nick has exactly 45 cards. He's recurred Icarid twice, and exiled 2 Cabal Therapies.
Yep.
So that's 4 cards exiled,
Yep.
4 cards in play,
Right.
8, 7 cards in hand, 15, 60
Yes.
minus 15.
Yeah. So it was 45. So it looks like Brain Freeze for 45 cards.
So your library, exactly. Yep. Is this
I just
good?
want Nicholas to have a Noxious Revival.
In a sideboard. Seriously, it's right here.
Yeah. Not yet, but I mean, James has 8,000 counters in his hand, so.
Approximately.
So looks like we hit the over. 10 minutes.
Oh no.
9 minutes. 9 minutes. They just went to under 20.
Yeah, I forgot to account for the shuffling during the time spiral.
Yeah.
9.5 would have been my actual line with that shuffle.
Okay.
Shucks.
9 minutes. Not terrible.
I think that, yeah. I think that James had a more straightforward way to kill there that didn't involve having to meditate into action. I think that he had a line involving, like especially once he found the Blue Sun Zenith, where he just Blue Sun Zenith himself for like, I don't know, 18 cards, which is probably good.
Yeah. Definitely could have made it a little bit cleaner on himself.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing.
I think he had more mana than he realized. He had the potential to make more mana.
Yeah.
Than he actually had.
Yeah, with the line I was thinking about, you also hit the second tide, which lets you do the double candelabra, get turnabout trick, which generates mana. So yeah, I mean, this is the thing with high tide, is there's little edges you can gain, but really you have such a big engine going on that most of the time it doesn't really matter unless your opponent has Emrakul in the back.
That would have been a beat. I'm gonna go ahead and say the Dredge player does not have Emrakul in their deck.
There was someone who played a Progenitus in the Dredge deck at one of the GPs, and they got a few rounds deep before someone was like, you know that card doesn't go to your graveyard, and they're like, I can't Dread return this?
Oh, man. Somebody, I believe, it was when I was just picking up Dredge, I read an article by Richard Feldman, one of the best Magic writers who does not write anymore. And he was a big Dredge advocate.
Yeah.
And he liked a Progenitus in his sideboard to combat the Painter Servant Grindstone combination.
Okay.
That was.
Didn't you need 2 to do that?
No. You needed 2 to.
Oh, because it's Dredge. So if your deck goes down to one card, you die.
You're totally cool. Yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
You would still end up milling all of your cards, but the Progenitus would be the 1 card left in your deck, and it would just be a 1-card kill. You have a Progenitus in your deck, they try to kill you naturally, they're dead.
Okay. I'm thinking of if you have 2 Progenitus,
it's a draw.
Yeah, you end up with the last 2 cards in your deck are Progenitus, and every time it says, Grindstone says repeat this, so you flip the 2 Progenitus, they would go to your graveyard, they go back to your deck. It just loops the game infinitely, and the Grindstone never breaks out of the loop.
Yeah, so I believe it's a draw
in
that case. Yeah, a lot of it's interesting to see, like, there are some anti-reanimation clause on some large creatures.
Yeah.
But they're often worded differently.
Yeah, the Eldrazi have their own specific. Yeah, Nick on the draw, as expected with his deck. Yeah, the Eldrazi have that specific setup. I have seen someone lose a match because they forgot they could Dread return their Emrakul.
They forgot?
Yes. They were playing the now illegal 4 Horsemen deck.
Okay.
The Basalt Monolith, Mesmeric Orb. This is actually officially stalling deck.
Oh, James took them all again, I see.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, is Nick taking them all again? Because that's just the biggest beating of all time.
Yeah, it's just actual time walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're playing this deck, and their Emrakul trigger to reshuffle gets stifled, and they just scoop. But their list had 3 Narcomoebas in it, and they're all in play, and this Dread Return was in his graveyard. So he could just sack his Narcomoebas and Dread Return to Emrakul.
Oh my god. That's awesome.
I
want to Dread Return on an Emrakul someday.
I mean, there was Jerry's deck in Modern that was not Shallow Graving,
Goryo's Vengeance. Yeah,
that deck was pretty savage. Yeah. I'm shocked that no one's played it since then. I guess Deathrite Shaman yet again. Aw shucks.
Yep. Ruining all of our fun.
Just a little bit of our fun.
All of my fun. I love the graveyard. It's like a second hand.
I like the stack.
Yeah. Stack's whatever. Everything has to go on the stack.
Lands, no.
Touche.
Dredge doesn't.
Also
I was about to say, you're probably a little bit less of an aficionado than some.
Yeah.
Nick's deck can almost win without using the stack. There's triggers.
There are triggers, yeah.
Very easily win without casting a spell.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to look at sideboards here, or looking at Wishboard versus Dredgeboard?
Yeah, basically, when we go to sideboarding, we don't get anything from either side.
There are 2 surgical extractions.
Yeah, I believe the surgical extractions from James will come in, but the Ravenous Trap will stay in the sideboard
To wish for. I can see the Pact of Negation coming out, and a Fluster's Form maybe.
Yeah.
Interesting, James only has 2 Cunning Wishes, so he only has 4 actual interactive spells against Nick's deck. Though he does have Ponder, Brainstorm.
Yeah, that being said, he has a lot of ways to find those 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Nick's sideboard, he's got like a Forest, Nature's Claims, Reverent Silence, Sickening Shoal, Verdant Catacombs, Noxious Revival. None of these cards really do much.
Right there.
I can see Noxious Revival to counter Surgical Extraction if he expects that.
Okay.
It seems better than Contagion and Sickening Shoal.
Yeah, for sure. But also do some interesting things where you Noxious Survival, like say a Narc Amiibo you've used, or a Street Wraith to cycle.
Okay.
Additionally.
Yeah. Just board in 3 of those for removal, and maybe board in like 1 Verdant Catacombs because it's just a Dryad Arbor, which is just better than nothing. We got a Phantasmagorian down. Nick gets back to his second turn and discarding 3
dredgers, and see if he wants to discard any more.
James passing without a turn 2 drop, which really doesn't mean much when you have Fetchland Island up in this format. The old Brainstorm.
James also mulliganed, would appear. Maybe into 5? Alright, so
2 Cabal Therapies down
here. Yeah, 2 Cabal Therapies and 4 Dredge creatures.
Icarid, Golgari Thog, Bridge, Gristlebrand, Contagion still in his deck. Another Shadow. He may have just not boarded the Noxious Revivals, just like, whatever.
Yeah.
In theory, you can Contagion down your own guys to make bridge tokens. If you don't have a sack outlet. It's a loose theory, but it's still in theory. Oh, you can also Noxious Revival if it's in your hand to beat a Brain Freeze.
Yeah. We talked about that in game 1.
I think Nick may have wanted to board in these Noxious Revivals for sure. He might actually have 1 Contagion and just not have boarded in the Verdant Catacombs.
That's fair.
And just have 3 Noxious Revivals that we haven't seen yet. Nether Shadow and Icarid come back. Golgari Thug out of here. Dredge, Stinkweed Imp.
Likely.
Stinkweed Imp reveals Imp, Shadow, Therapy, 3, Bridge, and Arbor. That is a good dredge. Specifically, it's just 3 therapies is a good dredge.
Yeah.
So
he's now gonna have 3 therapies and
and 2 bridges. So he's gonna have
2 bridges,
all
so
of the zombies.
Right. He could be even potentially threatening lethal. I'm not positive that he's.
Yes, it is lethal next turn.
So he will sack both creatures. They will each make.
Oh no, you're right. It's not lethal.
That will be 8 power.
I thought there were 3 bridges, 2 therapies for a second.
Yeah, that will be 8 power. Nick would have to play a land or a Dryad Arbor, basically.
Though he could also just hit a Dread Return and Gristlebrand.
Yeah.
Ball Therapy. 2 zombies. No surgical extraction in James's hand. I think if you're Nick, you just name High Tide. Because
the Lord Nolan school of Cabal Therapy
What?
Whatever their deck is named, you name that card.
I named Merfolk. What do you mean?
Rats.
So there is a High Tide, an Intuition, a Merchant Scroll, a Time Sprawl, and a Turnabout.
So
I feel like...
Pretty solid hand.
Yeah.
Cutting Wish was named once again.
Cutting Wish? I feel like at this point, you've passed the point where James can actually hate card his way back into the game. So I think you just name the card that is going to let him kill you the fastest, which is High Tide.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you have 8 power zombies, James has 2 turns to win, regardless of whether your graveyard is still in play or not.
Yeah.
It might even be right to name Turnabout, because that card can also tap your team.
It's only basically an extra land drop. Can be important, but basically Nick has decided to go for his
take out the Merchant Scroll and the
High Tide.
High Tide.
Yeah. So
well, Turnabout can get you an extra card off the top.
Yeah.
So it's either Cycle or it just seems like it's Turnabout or High Tide is what I would name in that situation. Brainstorm.
Pretty
Let's
solid
fix
draw.
Everything.
Pretty solid draw.
Okay.
Draws Candelabra.
Brainstorm. Probe.
Taxing Probe. So I would probably put back the Candelabra and the Intuition.
Yeah.
You might need the Intuition to High Tide, but that's like a pretty tough way to do things.
Yeah, I agree.
Also considering he needs lands. So
yeah, he does need those. I think you would like to Candelabra here? Pass?
I believe you put it back.
Oh, really?
I think it's actually needs to find a land.
I think
it needs to free cast Probe and possibly even Brainstorm for a land.
I don't think he needs to hit a land this turn. He may want to, but I don't know if he needs to.
Definitely at least cycle the Probe.
Yeah.
I think a random card is better than a Candelabra in this situation because he doesn't have a High Tide.
Yeah, well, it's a random card. Like, if he hits a land, he could also, like, the Candelabra generates 1 mana next turn because it doesn't have to be cast.
Right. The problem is he only generates mana if he
hits
finds
a High Tide. Well, I'm assuming that has to happen from the game. No, you're right. You shouldn't. The Candelabra is worth less than the potential to hit a land here.
Yeah.
Because the 1 mana doesn't actually jump you into anything. My hand is cards that don't do anything.
Weird.
They have the ability Dredge, but they're not in my graveyard. They have this other text, but they're never in play.
Yeah.
This is flying is technically an ability to Stinkweed him.
Yep.
But
it has pseudo Death Touch as well.
Yeah. That goes on the stack and triggers. So in Pauper, when you block a Blight Mama with it has to regenerate twice. Okay, Cunning Wish for James. I think that's a little late here.
Yeah.
But let's see if the second Brainstorm fixes everything. Land, Candle, Meditate. No.
Looks like we're going to go to a game 3.
Yep. Right now, actually. James realizes he's Brainstorm locked, calls it a day. Now, I think Nick, I hope he brings in the Noxus Survivals, because that sounds like something I want to watch.
Yeah.
And I want to see if James figures out that he should draw first.
Yeah. People debate it, but the math is pretty firmly in the you should be on the draw.
It's more than firmly. It's absolutely in this case. So if they keep their 7 on the play, they pass, you draw a card, play your first land, pass, they draw their card, discard. If you're on the play, you play a land, pass, they draw and discard. You actually are just throwing a card away by choosing to play first.
Right.
It is, you get to start with 8 cards in your hand against Manaless Dredge if you choose play or draw.
Yes.
It's a really weird interaction, a really weird mechanic.
Yeah, when your opponent passes the first turn, they're giving you an extra card.
Yes. Yeah, I believe, James, these are the exact cards that Chris Anderson was debating playing until he decided to sleeve up something else that I'm sure someone out there can guess easily.
Yeah. Anderson, quite the Elves player.
Yeah, so I heard Matt Nass is doing well at this Grand Prix.
Is it?
As is Luis Scott Vargas.
And they're both playing Elves?
Yeah, I believe so. 2 Elf Masters in their own right. You know, Luis with a Pro Tour win, Matt Nass with a Grand Prix win. And Shorts, I really hope that Matt Nass wins this Grand Prix. And there is a photo of him wearing shorts.
In snow?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
My first time...
He lives in Massachusetts now, too.
Yeah. My first time in Colorado, I was driving. I was like 12. My mom and I and my brother took a cross-country road trip, and we left Ohio in summer, and we got to Denver, and there was snow on the mountains, and we were like
dressed for summer.
Yeah, dressed for summer in the snow.
Matt Nass also
fantastic.
Recent Star City Invitational top 4.
Yeah, he beat some dude in the top 8.
Yeah, beat some dude in top 8 and lost to some dude with some Naya Humans deck and some conscripts in the top 4, which is I'm assuming that match is on coverage that you can watch.
Yeah, if you want to watch Matt Nass versus Ben Weinberg, it is.
Yeah, you get to watch the end of that
very
match, which
comical.
Is brutal. Very brutal. Yeah. Matt was
okay.
Yeah, James did in fact choose to draw first.
Yeah, he got that word.
He knows how it works.
There's actually a pretty cool I don't know what it is, but it seems like the knowledge level of Legacy players seems to be just like higher about the like weird stuff in their format.
Agree.
And then like other formats.
Yeah.
When you know weird stuff about your standard format, you know about like Seance.
Yeah,
so,
or like
how
Sans Delirium. When you know weird stuff about Legacy,
you know that you need to like draw in the against the manaless dredge deck,
or that your Belcher deck may want to draw first against goblins, as we were talking about earlier, or like
blind keep.
Yeah, let's see.
All right.
Other ones that your 5-color storm deck can beat a solitary confinement without a hate card for it.
Yeah,
just like really weird things like that. Nick looks like has a dredge card in his hand and a Phantasmagorian. That is a lot of Narcomoebas, though.
Yeah. Well, he blind kept.
Yeah.
And you're not going to mulligan.
Yeah.
But this is one of the advantages to playing manaless dredge is that you can, because you don't have to play filthy things like lands.
Yeah, you get to play 15 cards with dredge.
Not only that, but you also get to play a bunch of Narcomoeba replacements.
True.
Like you see the Nether Shadows and the full 4 Icarids.
He's flashing
his foil Narcomoebas.
Gonna activate, discard Troll, Imp, Shell.
And responding to likely discarding 3 other cards in his hand. Because basically there are no good cards.
Yeah, if they're in his graveyard, they can be exiled to Icarid. Oh, there's a Dread Return down there. Well, Narcomoeba cannot, but the Stinkweed can. Oh, there we go, Narcomoeba.
Had it.
Bridge, Street Wraith, Bridge. Okay, James has another turn.
The Flare of the Hatebound.
And Gristlebrain.
Yeah. Well, the Flare is now in the graveyard, I believe.
Is that a...
Is a card above the shiny Narcomoeba.
It is. I thought that was... I don't know what I thought that was.
So, Flare of the Hatebound is basically if you have 2 Dread Returns, it is an instant kill.
Yeah. Because...
You reanimate something else large like a Grave Troll.
Yep.
And then, there you go.
You animate the Flare. You can sack the Flare to your second Dread Return, get it back, it does 5 to them, and then you get back the Grave Troll, which kills them.
Yes.
Flare the Hatebound brought up on the screen. It's a 4/2 Undying, and whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield from your graveyard, you deal damage to target creature or player equal to its power. It has a mana cost of 6.
Theoretically.
Yeah. Very relevant for DII Limited, which is an awesome format. Candelabra of Tawnos for James Wager. Let's see. And Nick has another turn. Dredge, 5. Icarid. And a Phantasmagoria. So...
Mostly bricks.
Yeah. There will be another turn for James. Potentially even 2.
Yeah. Basically, Nick does not have a bunch of ways to return a creature from his graveyard to play.
Yes.
Right now.
So, yeah, Nick is one Dread Return or 1 Cabal Therapy potentially away from the kill. I think he needs a Cabal Therapy for sure. Yeah. Nick is very disappointed in his dredges, apparently. Actively stating it in the match. End of turn brainstorm for James with no fetch land. Or is that main phase? Oh, end of turn.
So
that is a bad sign. That means you're dead usually.
it means you need something.
Yep.
Although there's, I feel like James could have Merchant Scroll for Cunning Wish.
Yeah, I think he's just going for the kill here.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's his general correct line, but sometimes I feel like Merchant Scroll would have been a better play than Brainstorm. And
possibly. Yeah, Merchant Scroll for maybe even a tie.
Yeah.
Actually, you probably don't want to do that because it exposes
Okay.
you to therapy.
Love therapy, yeah.
Okay, tied. Tide count 1, storm count 1,
All right,
0 floating.
What are we setting the line at? Going to time?
Yeah, for sure.
All
0.
right.
There's absolutely no way he wins before time is up.
Yeah, we have 10 minutes, 30 seconds.
Tied. I may be proven wrong very quickly. 1 floating, 2 storm. 2 high tides is usually a quick kill. Though if James isn't gonna go for blue suns, he'll quick kills.
Yeah.
The old F6 button. Candelabra, 0 floating, storm 2.
It's a nice thing to do. Basically, F6, for those of you that don't play Magic Online, F6 means you're passing priority for the rest of the turn.
0 floating.
So you're just letting your
floating.
opponent do what they do.
Tide count is 2, storm count is 3.
And one of the things like, yeah, if you're beat, you're beat.
Yeah.
Don't,
James
don't
could
try
always
and,
mess it all up.
Up, nope, whip, up.
Yeah, you've got nothing. Don't worry about it. You're a dredge deck.
Yeah.
Force of wood. Yeah. Okay, so we're candelabraing again, going up to 15 floating, it looks like.
Okay.
Turnabout. 4 storm, 11 floating, untapped candelabras.
Attention players. We have a lost phone, so if you can take a quick look.
17 floating after the
If there's
first.
a phone ringing and no one
23 floating the second.
We're looking for it, so please raise your hand and call for the judge. So once again, we're looking for a black phone.
Oh, the other candelabra's not been activated yet, so still 17 floating. Scroll.
So one thing to note that James still hasn't played a land
15,
this turn.
5. Yep. Yeah, we're definitely in blue suns enough, I feel like.
One of the reasons Merchant Scroll is like one of the better cards in this deck.
It can just randomly get Zenith when it kills them.
It gets
or
you
draws them
mana,
back.
a kill, and protection all on one card.
It is actually Demonic Tutor.
Yeah.
It cannot get a land, that is all.
Right.
Or
We're only going to Meditateville.
Interesting. I think that's
I think Blue
less
Sun
cards
is
than a Blue Sun Zenith.
by a lot.
Yeah, I feel like that's just something that's very. If you watch some of the like true high tide masters play this deck, like Hatfields,
yeah.
you watch them like Blue Sun Zenith a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Probe, 6 storm if I remember correctly. A dead card's cool.
Yeah.
6 storm, 15 floating.
There's a land, I believe.
Delta,
Not bad.
fetch.
And put our Gitaxian Probe in the graveyard.
I mean, usually when I play Storm, my cantrips just hang out and play.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty lonely out there. Something needs to hang with my lands.
Yeah, you don't. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you would be shocked at how many times my opponent picks up a preordain and puts it in my graveyard for me or something like that. It's like, oh yeah. They're like going to attack with the Noble Hierarch, like, what was that blocking?
Block
A
with my
sorcery.
Preordain.
Okay, so 15 floating right now. Meditate to 12 and an 8 storm? 7 storm. Yes. 1, 2, 3,
What's it? Cunning
4.
Wish. It looks like Cunning Wish and 3 lands.
Is that a Spiral as his last card?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the
15?
his last card is.
Not 15.
Just kidding.
Cards in library.
And what's our storm count at?
7.
7, so not close.
4 in hand, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. If you want to count his graveyard, I think he's probably around Storm of 14 is lethal, probably. That's my guess.
Right. We're in the
41? Man, I guess right. 41.
So we need a storm of 14 to mill him out, and we're currently at least 5 short.
Yeah, because the Cunning. 5 before the Cunning.
Yeah, so Cunning Wish would be
15 floating after this land is
Brainstorm
tapped.
would be, Brainstorm would be 9. So he's actually in a little bit of trouble here.
Candle down to 11.
No
candle.
What kind?
Not enough.
Yeah. So yeah, as James going off, I feel like he has enough to Cunning Wish for.
Yeah, I thought they need a blue Sun Zenith a while back.
Yeah.
Cunning Wish 8. 12 floating.
So only 12 mana
Oh,
floating.
he activated the Candelabra, untapped his lands, did it again, I think.
Yeah.
So that's -4 to 8.
28 mana?
Yeah, 20.
Okay.
Yeah, 20 mana, 8 storm, blue Sun Zenith.
Okay, when I blue Sun Zenith with his deck, I like to go down to 9.
9 floating?
Or so 11 if I can help it, but 9's a good amount. To cast some cantrips, 11 lets you Merchant Scroll for Intuition for Time Spiral.
Okay.
And then 9 lets you either Intuition. He's going down to 9.
X equals 11 or... Yeah, X
he's
equals
going
11.
down to exactly 6.
I might have left up 1 or 2 extra.
Yeah, so you can cantrip
I don't think I'd lean on the Intuition because this is a 1 Intuition list.
Okay.
So we have 6 floating, 9 spells. This should be enough.
It may not, he needs an untap effect or a Time Spiral. And I mean, 11 cards or whatever is a lot.
Yeah.
But it's by no means a lot.
Yeah, I feel like this 11 might have even been a little lower than our maximum could have been. But as you can see, again, High Tide is pretty forgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
when you're dealing
it's
with
you could maybe figure out a line where you get to 14 cards deep. That's really difficult to find the exact line there. 11 is probably enough.
Yeah, when you're dealing with number of mana and cards in the double digits.
Yeah.
You're not really worried.
Yeah, I'm used to oh gosh, I miscounted my mana by 1. I've used all my cards. I'm dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, did it.
Yeah, it's hard to miscount with High Tide by 1. You're not.
Yeah.
The difference between 24 and 25, not that much.
Yeah, exactly. All rounds up to $1 million.
All right, so turnabout from James is actually
and there's a Merchant Scroll.
Untap his Candelabra, so this should do it.
He's not going to untap the Candelabra. He's going to untap his lands because he doesn't have mana afterwards to.
Oh no, yeah, right, because he only has 6 floating.
It might still generate more to untap the Candelabra. So he untaps 2, 6. Yeah, he gets a free 2 mana if he untaps the Candelabras that way.
All right.
Probe 10. Spells correct. I believe 10. We're cutting it close on this going to time thing, I think.
I don't think we're cutting it close. I think we're going way over.
Way over?
Yeah.
No way. Nick has to be dead within the next 2 minutes.
No.
No?
I mean, you think James is 2 minutes and 42 seconds away from winning?
Easily. Turnabout's his lands. 2 mana.
Is that 2 mana and then?
Yeah, he could have got
each island makes 3.
Yeah, so he has
14?
11 spells, 12 floating. He didn't untap the Candelabra, so he only gets the 12.
Yeah.
Oh, he had 2 mana extra floating.
Yeah, 14.
14. Oh, I think it might actually be exactly the same if he turnabouts his Candelabras and Merchant. Preordained 12 spell, ship, keep, draw. He only has 1 Cunning Wish left in his deck. I don't know if that matters. Turnabout, the 13, 9. He has 9 floating before the turnabout results.
Perfect.
Storm. Candelabras.
He's untapping his artifacts so he can get 2
5.
Candelabra activations.
5 floating.
Makes him some extra mana. Merchant Scroll.
14. 3 floating. So we have a lethal storm count.
Okay.
He actually just can Cunning Wish Brain Freeze here if he'd like to. He knows that Nick's hand is all blanks. He doesn't know if Nick's deck is all blanks though. So I mean, Nick could get him with the Progenitus, but that is not in his deck.
That would be awesome.
Okay, we're getting another Tide. We're gonna go for a big Blue Sun Zenith here.
You still think we're gonna win before time?
No. I didn't think he was gonna go for Blue Sun Zenith. So 2 floating, Tide count is 3, Storm is lethal. I'm gonna stop counting that. We have 18 floating.
So
Ponder 17.
that's what I always wanted, another Candelabra of Taunos.
And there was a Blue Sun in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
That'll kill him. It's okay, there's probably another High Tide player doing the same thing at the same time right now.
For our sake, I hope not.
Because this one looks close to over.
Yeah, this one we're doing good. We're doing good. He started going off before time was called. I'm impressed.
Jeez. It's even worse. I think the modern eggs when they start going off.
Oh, that is, yeah. As much crap as I give
Candelabra 12 floating.
Eggs is just way worse.
Yeah. The issue with eggs too is that like every like marginal advantage you miss with that deck often means another iteration. It's not like just like a card less drawn. It's like a whole nother loop of drawing cards.
Yeah.
And often like people don't realize like when they actually have the luck of like, yes, I will draw more cards in my library. You can just flash it to your opponent. Like I have the ability to draw my deck and go off. Whereas like they'll just keep going until they actually reach that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna Cunning Wish. I'm gonna Brain Freeze you. No?
Alright, looks like I win again. Time has been
He
called.
didn't even board in the Surgicals, it doesn't look like. Just not even in his deck.
Why would you want one of those?
He might have boarded in one and had the other to wish for.
Okay. Okay. So, James,
That was actually not that bad over time. It was like under a minute
yeah,
probably.
totally legit.
Yeah. James wins 2-1. High Tide defeating Nick Rausch with Manaless Drain.